I've been paying the police for 10 years.
What, as a prostitute?
As a prostitute. My ex-husband was a criminal. I paid the police many times for him. I would have been quite happy to go on paying the police because it's a way of life, and it's the way you survive. But when the police become judge, jury, and executioner, then somebody has to speak. Somebody has to come forward. Somebody has to start somewhere and stop it. Everybody, no matter who they are, heroin dealers, murderers, thieves, everybody is entitled to justice, to a trial, to some form of being able to stand up and defend themselves.
It's a fine declaration, but someone could still say, here's a lady who's pregnant, here's a lady who's a drug addict, here's a lady who has been or is a prostitute, she's just had her man shot. She is very bitter and she's about to tip a bucket on everyone. Truth or non-truth. People could say that.
And I'd understand why. But it's not just for me. It has to be for other people besides me, besides Warren. This isn't only for me, this is for all the other people who've already suffered, and for all the people who could possibly suffer or be killed in the future. This is real. This is not something that I have made up in revenge or in anger. This is just cold, bare fact.
What sort of a man was Warren? Tell us what. Clearly physical.
Physically, he was a very strong man.
Was he a thug?
Warren was a criminal. I don't know whether I'd call him a thug, but, you know, you've got to face facts. Warren was a criminal.
He certainly wasn't the clean-cut boy next door.
No, he certainly wasn't that.
He was dealing in heroin.
That's right.
A lot of people would say that a heroin dealer deserves to end up in a place like this, dead in some back alley. This is where Warren Lanfranchi was shot. There's no question that he was a drug dealer. But if you listen to his girlfriend Sallie-Anne and her stories about police corruption, she says that some police were also dealing in heroin. She tells one story about how Warren tried to set up what they call in the trade a rip-off, getting heroin without paying for it. But the twist is that even someone as experienced as Lanfranchi didn't always know who owned the heroin and when crooked cops were involved.
How much heroin? What are we talking about in terms of how much was it worth?
Well, the heroin that Warren actually took was extremely high grade. It cut down, it was worth $37,000.
$37,000. So he scoots with $37,000 worth of heroin. Just let me get... A meeting's arranged in North Sydney. Warren goes with a mate to meet two other men. Warren knocks one man out, puts the other guy in a boot, puts the guy he's knocked out in the boot as well, a different car, and then discovers that the guys he's ripped off
Are working for the police.
Did he come home and tell you that?
Of course, he was terrified and shocked. I mean, it wasn't expected. You know, he came home and, you know, really was sort of a bit startled.
Was that a regular night for Warren? I mean, not to run into two policemen or two men working for the police, but to go out make a deal of that sort of heroin, that much, and knock someone out?
Oh, well, heroin rip-offs are a pretty common thing in the heroin business, because a heroin dealer can't ring the police up and say, well, look, you know, this guy just ripped me off. Unless, of course, he's working for the police.
The two men he'd ripped off, did Warren know who they worked for?
Not at that stage.
At what stage? When did he find out?
Well, he didn't find out until a couple of weeks later.
The New South Wales Police Force had been searching for Lanfranchi for several weeks. They wanted to question him about a number of armed robberies and also the attempted killing of a policeman. What they didn't know was that he'd been holed up here, in this unit in Neutral Bay in Sydney. Now, Detective Sergeant Rogerson, in his statement, says that he arranged the Saturday rendezvous so that Lanfranchi could give himself up. Sallie-Anne was with Lanfranchi the couple of hours before that rendezvous. She gives a quite different version of how it came about and the role that was played by the underworld go-betweens.
Warren came home at 12 o'clock and said that he was being picked up before 2 o'clock that afternoon. They wanted Warren to take off his coat. He was wearing a large sheepskin coat, sheepskin-lined coat.
How they would be dressed so they couldn't hide a gun, presumably?
That's right, that's right. Warren, in fact, he didn't even want Warren to wear a jumper, just a shirt and a pair of pants, which Warren was happy to comply with. I even ironed a warm shirt for him to wear, but it was really cold. Warren wore a jumper. Close-fitting jumper.
Did Warren try to take his gun that Saturday morning or Saturday lunchtime?
Oh, God, no.
When the car came to pick Warren up to take him to this rendezvous point, what did you say to Warren? What were the last moments that you remember?
I asked Warren to bring some flowers home for me. And he turned around and said, well, darling, you never know. You could be sending me flowers. He went to the kitchen. We had $10,000, which we'd wrapped up into bundles with elastic bands right round it. It was one big bundle. He put the money down the front of his pants and pulled his jumper down over the top of it. I asked him for some money before he left. He had $1,200 in his back pocket. He pulled the $1,200 out and he left two $20 notes on the kitchen bench for me, which left him $1,160, which he put back into his back pocket. I kissed him at the door and asked him what time he thought he'd be back, because I'd be worried. You know, I mean, I didn't want him to go.
You didn't want him to go?
No. And he said he didn't know what time he'd be home, but if he wasn't home by 6 o'clock, then I'd know he'd been killed.
Now, did he say that with a smile? Was he deadly serious?
He was deadly serious.
How do you know, Sally, that he didn't have a gun in the car, that he didn't pick it up on the path as he walked out, that he didn't have it planted somewhere?
Because he left the gun at home, and I had the gun. It was a 9mm Smith & Wesson automatic pistol.
And you had it after he left? No
That's
question?
Right. No question.
The one thing that nobody disputes is that Warren Lanfranchi was killed in this lane at about 3 o'clock last Saturday afternoon. But if you can believe his girlfriend Sallie-Anne, there are still some unanswered questions. She says that he left his gun at home. The police say that when he got here, he drew a gun on them. So presumably, he had to go somewhere else and collect another gun. And if he came here to talk, why would he suddenly draw a gun on the police? Sally also says that when he left home, he had $11,160 stuffed in his trousers. What was he going to do with all that money? Where's that money now? What's happened to it? There's no question that Sally is bitter and even vengeful about the police and what happened to Warren.
I'm having Warren's child.
How pregnant are you? How far?
About 6 or 8 weeks.
Did Warren know that?
Oh, yes.
What do you think happened then when he left home? You obviously, you weren't there, so you...
I wasn't there. I only know what I have been told. There are witnesses.
There are witnesses, apart from the policeman,
Oh, yes,
who saw the shooting.
that's right.
Where are they?
They're scared to come forward.
So clearly, Sally has a vested interest. But then again, only someone with her past would really be in a position to know the sorts of things she talks about. As we say, we found her allegations so disturbing that we decided to pass them on to the New South Wales Attorney-General, Mr. Frank Walker. Because of Australia's restrictive libel and defamation laws, we've been able to present only a very guarded report on 60 Minutes tonight. But the Attorney-General has now asked for an investigation by the New South Wales Police Internal Affairs Branch.
Sally, there are extraordinary charges. It's the sort of thing that you expect to hear from Hollywood, not in suburban Australia.
I know that, but it is happening here. And I know it sounds unbelievable, but it's real and it's happening.
Do you think the police had no idea that you would take this line? Did they expect you to lie low, to keep quiet?
I think the police thought that I'd shut my mouth, as I've kept quiet all these years.
You surely can't stay here. You surely can't stay in Australia if what you say is correct.
No, I have to leave the country. Not only because of the police, but a lot of criminals are going to be very upset with me. I've upset the balance. A lot of detectives, I suppose, are going to be scared. It's going to be a lot harder for criminals to get away with a lot of things. But it had to be done.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.